Good evening, Bill.
Good afternoon, Sandy.
Um, can you recall a dream you have had recently?
Yes. Do you
And
want me
are
to
you
tell you
going to
about my
tell me
dream?
about it?
Uh, 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 I had a dream that I was in another country uh, with my wife and my mother, and I had packed a bag to go on another trip from there. And I left with the bag and realized there were no clothes and nothing I actually needed in there. Like it was an empty bag. And I had a panic attack.
I mean, I'm not in any way a dream psychologist or, specialist.
But lack of preparation seems to be a fear of mine.
Yeah. Um, I mean, actually, the reason why I put together Dreamer, although it's actually only two images, both by the same artist,
Hmm.
uh, is because when we should have done this a couple of weeks ago and we had to cancel, the night before, I'd actually had a dream in which you featured.
What was I doing in it? Well, first of all, let me just ask you a real question before you answer that. Are your dreams generally positive or negative? Like, do you have like happy dreams or nightmares?
I don't have happy dreams, but nor do I do have nightmares, and I have been plagued at times by nightmares in kind of clusters.
Okay.
But
They're more
generally,
surreal, weird dreams.
I just have dreams that are reconfigurations of real experiences.
Sure. Okay. All right. So
Anyway,
your dream with me in it.
the dream with you in it was a kind of a very vivid dream, not least because we were in my home city. We were in Glasgow, and it was so vivid for the detail, not just of you. And obviously, a couple of weeks ago, I hadn't seen you in person not that long ago, so
Yep.
you're very fresh in my mind in person. But the detail of like the Glasgow University grounds and a kind of memory of other senses in the dream was really amplified. So there was nothing much about the dream. You were there, I was there, we were
Just
in the
you and I
grounds.
walking around Glasgow University.
Pretty much, yeah, in the grounds.
Now,
Um,
when you woke up, did it feel like it was a false memory as if it actually happened? Or in the dream, did it feel like it was actually happening?
a little bit.
Yeah.
But, I speak to lots of people about their dreams. Students speak to me often about their dreams, funnily enough.
They're like,
Um,
Mom, let me tell you about my dream, ma'am.
a little bit. I think people sometimes are quite moved by their dreams.
Sure.
And especially, I guess, artists, art students, people who have that kind of otherness to them might put stock in dreams that others just don't.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, anyway, we're looking at Odilon Redon this evening.
Do you think that dreams, as in, things you're trying to accomplish in life, and dreams, as in things that happen when you're sleeping, REM state delusions, are related, or only in the word?
I mean, they are related because they belong to the unconscious of the individual.
Yeah. Anyway, just it's interesting that we use the same word for those two different things.
Yeah, I mean, I did think about it earlier and how I was going to put, only these two images by Redon in. One is an early landscape image that really might not appear to have anything to do with dreaming, but actually, as an image, it's very similar to the dream I had with you in it. The kind of tonality, the darkness, a feeling of it's not foreboding, just the heaviness of the place.
Yeah, sure.
And anyway, for people who like Redon, it's very kind of beloved. It's got a massive fan base, like a cult fan base, um, for his noirs, which I guess this could be classed as. This is charcoal on paper. He used like a powder lay on the paper that would give him like this lovely sense of recession into the background space.
And then he pulls away from that, like he pulls out from
Uh,
that, like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots and lots of information about Redon online, and I'm not going to try and encapsulate in our half an hour everything about his technique, nor am I going to suggest that, you know, I know everything about Redon, but I do know that he was a very obviously skilled drafts person, but he was a lithographer as well. And he worked pretty tirelessly, I would say, to fuse the kind of symbolic language of dreams or the unconscious into his work. So, though this is landscape, by the time we get into really the late 1870s, he's already working in a way that is about symbolism that we might associate with dreams or dream states.
That feels like a poster of a sci-fi book.
Well, that's the thing I find so interesting about his work actually is how prescient it is of what would come into the 20th century
Yeah.
with science fiction, but also, you know, it's a pull through from things like Poe. Edgar Allan Poe was hugely influential in Redon's
Yeah.
work, but
It's like
also,
Poe into H.G. Wells or something.
yeah, so how easily I could confuse Redon's imagery with something that's much more modern.
Hmm.
Anyway, I am interested in dreams and the dream state for artists. I don't know if you've ever tried to recreate a dream as a photograph, for example.
Uh, no. It's interesting, I think you and I have talked offline a little bit about my weird aphantasia thing.
Hmm.
Like I can't imagine things in my mind's eye with my eyes closed. Like I can't imagine pictures. I think it's why I can photograph, but I can't draw. Is that if I'm looking at the thing, I can create it. I can have ideas of what something's going to be, but until I actually have looking through the camera at whatever it is I was trying to put together, I can't sketch out exactly what I want and then recreate it in a camera. I have to sort of just have an idea of like, oh, there'll be a girl reaching for the moon, and then figure out the specifics in reality because I can't imagine it. So in my dreams, while they're real and I have flashes of them when I'm awake, I can't picture them when I'm awake, if that makes sense. Plus, my
Of
dreams are very personal in a weird way. Like they're always,
course they are.
no, I know, but like I don't have dreams about other people. Like I'm always there.
But
It's
are you
family
watching
members.
yourself in your dream? As in, are you the conscious vehicle in the unconscious, or are you observing yourself in the dream state?
I am the conscious vehicle. I'm not, it's like I'm first person, not third person, if that's what
Hmm.
you're asking. Yeah. Um, it's sort of just a continuation of reality, except it's warped and usually pretty disturbing.
So your
I,
question back at you then, are your dreams nightmarish, or are they
yeah,
something that bring you kind of a
they're
pleasure in
they're
sleeping?
generally upsetting. I very rarely enjoy, I also just don't consciously dream. What's the term that people use when they can control their dreams? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. In fact, yes, I do know, and I should
What
know.
the heck is the name of that word? Anyway, I can't do that. I can't control my. I'm watching my dreams happen. I'm along for the ride as the first person, but I can't make things happen.
Okay, so you've never directed a dream.
No, I've never been able to. I don't realize I'm dreaming when I'm dreaming. I think I'm living my life.
Does that create confusion when you awaken?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I'm awake and I don't know which was real and which was not. And then, of course, when there's something really bad happens in life, somebody dies or some terrible thing happens or whatever, and you go to sleep and you wake up and you think, oh, maybe that was a dream, and then you kind of realize that it's not a dream and that it's, you know. Um, but yeah, no, usually I don't get pleasure in dreaming. Dreaming is I'm scared of dreaming usually.
Scared of dreaming. That sounds like a terrible affliction.
Well, if your dreams are usually disturbing, then it's like watching a horror film. I also don't like watching horror films either, and I wonder if that has to do with that.
Hmm. I
You
mean,
know,
do you think that in terms of the dreams you've had recently, they are a product of the experiences you're having in your waking life.
Yeah, like a way for my brain to defrag reality.
Well, yeah, like I said, obviously you and I aren't
Yeah,
dream specialists. We're not psychologists.
sure.
But I'm
No,
just
but there is
wondering if
this.
you notice a relationship.
Yes. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. But it's not a one-to-one thing. It's sort of a, like you, right? Like you saw me a couple weeks ago, so therefore I'm in a dream where you and I are walking around a place in Glasgow, which I've never been to Glasgow. I've been to Edinburgh. I've never been to Glasgow. So it's like, um, but I wonder if I ever ended up in Glasgow with you and we were walking around that place, if that would be surreal for you.
Well, sometimes I do find that things that are happening in my waking life, I identify almost like a deja vu with something I may have dreamt of. And I don't mean that I'm, some kind of psychic.
Prescient or whatever. Yeah.
Uh, there is, because as I say, mine is a kind of reconfiguration of usually experience or just the reality that I'm used to.
Yeah.
There is a crossover sometimes when I'm awake that can be disconcerting.
Yeah. Yeah, but now how does that blend in with your, excuse my term, woo-woo-ness, your belief in all of that? Do you believe that there actually is a connection, or is it your brain just creating a connection?
I'm not quite sure what you're trying to get at there, Bill.
Do you think your brain is pre-seeing things that actually are going to happen, or is it just sort of a strange uh, 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 serendipity that the same thing happens in your dream and in real life?
Well, I'm going to say it's serendipity,
Okay.
just so I don't get,
Hate mail.
some kind of trolling for my otherness.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the dream of another person, I think, is an interesting thing also to listen to,
Yeah.
because I know lots of people really do try to explain their dreams to others,
Sure.
and it can be so incredibly dull.
Well, you know why I think it is? Because dreams are not about what happens in the dream. It's how you felt while those things were happening. And you
Hmm.
can't explain your emotions. You know what I mean? You can't explain how it felt in the dream. You can say, oh, I was scared, or it was wet, or I felt, unsettled. But like none of those things really give a sense of what it, to me, I have an easier time remembering how a dream felt when I first wake up than I do the details of the dream.
Well, this is the thing. I suppose a while ago, several sessions ago, you said something about a desire you had to try and really understand what it would have been like for the artist several hundred years ago,
Sure.
thinking like what it's. I mean, this is not
Yeah.
exactly what you said, but
What their present reality was like, because we only see it in the past. We don't understand how they actually felt. Yeah.
and I know there's other work from this period in French history, but I was wondering about Redon's experience day to day that allowed him to make artwork like this. Now,
Yeah.
as I said, there's lots of stuff online about Redon. You can find out about him, watch YouTube videos about him. Um, and in one video I watched recently, actually, in the comments, people were kind of arguing in the comments of a YouTube video I watched about his work, saying the two arguments were, he was a genius who was using symbolism to convey something really profound, and other people were very much in the camp like he just worked out what looked cool
Yeah.
and did it. But I was sort of thinking that maybe what was happening in the French collective conscious at the end of
Yeah.
the 19th century that allowed for this kind of work, in the same way that at the beginning of the 19th century, what was happening in Edgar Allan Poe's world that was
Sure.
allowing for those narratives.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about how at this time there would have been an enormous shift in an awareness of world-changing
Well, yeah.
scientific.
I mean, I think the 19th century to a large extent changed the world more than the 20th century did, even in my opinion. Like the life people were leading in 1800 versus 1900 is way different than 1900 to 2000 to me.
Mm.
You know, that we're talking about railroads, we're talking about telecommunications, we're talking about scientific progress, we're talking about how war was done. Like there's so many things that were so completely different in that 100 years that it's almost unrecognizable the world was.
And there would have been a great deal of uncertainty.
Especially going into the turn of the next century, yeah.
Mm.
Which is where a lot of that fear comes from and a lot of those sci-fi and all the rest of it we were talking about earlier, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of translatable, or translated rather, into these images. And actually, I just want to go back to the first image, the landscape.
This is some dark stuff right here, this image.
It is really dark. And again, I should have put it in the slideshow actually, but do you remember talking with me about Don McCullen's photographs of the Somerset Levels, which are his more recent work, so after he's become elderly and has stopped traveling as extensively. And the interesting thing about McCullen's photographs is, though he doesn't actually like to be known as a war photographer, but nonetheless, he is a war photographer.
Yep.
That even in his photographs of the Somerset Levels, that kind of beautiful landscape, in England, the photographs of the Somerset Levels look like war photographs.
Yeah.
They carry the somber nature that actually is about Don McCullen into.
Do you think that would be true even if you didn't know who took them? Or do you think
I think the fascinating part is the kind of relationship one can see between earlier photographs and later photographs, regardless of their content.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. And for Redon, I think I can see already that there is like a brooding, somber, mysterious nature.
Yeah, I'm not sure he would have been that much fun to hang out with.
Well, again, lots to find out about him. He was, a talented family. I think his youngest brother, Gustav, became a very famous architect, I think. His origins are quite dubious for us in context now of our times these days. His father was, made a lot of money from the slave trade.
Sure.
All these things that would have been not fashionable, but certainly not taboo as they are now.
Sure.
Dated or outlawed in some way. His experience was probably very different to yours and mine.
Yeah.
Even though as a white European European, he would have, an awareness of, as we were saying, scientific advancement or technologies that were emerging or ideas that were coming forward at that period. He was still marked by an older century.
Sure.
And the pivot point at the end of the 19th century is so extraordinary, really.
Yep.
It's like looking for you and I, in our living experience, we've known people who lived, 100 years ago.
Yeah, I met people who were born in the 1800s.
Yeah. And so for Redon, he was reaching backwards into a history that is now for us untouchable.
Yeah, he probably knew people who were there for the French Revolution.
He was conceived in Louisiana. He was
Oh, really?
in Bordeaux. Yeah. His mum was French Creole.
Ah, there you go.
Her name was Odilon. That's why he is known as Odilon. That's not actually.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But anyway, dreams. Can we get any purchase on them? Do we understand each other's dreams? If I sit down, I said to you, I've had this dream with you in it, and we're in Glasgow.
Yeah.
Does my dream mean anything to anyone but me?
Does it have to?
No, but I wonder why, almost like an instrument of communication, I'm here speaking to you and trying to explain to you my dream. And what is the point to that?
And should I understand it more because I was in it? If you said, oh, I was with my mom in Glasgow at this place. Yes, I've met you. Yes, I've met your mom. Should I know? You know what I'm saying? Or is it because I was actually a participant, as it were, in your dream? I should have some understanding that, Like that the person in your dream and me are actually the same person and not just your projection of me. You know what I'm saying?
And again, we've touched on this actually to do with memory generally, where we've talked before, maybe very early on actually, about existing in someone else's memory for a long time after they may have faded in ours.
Yep.
I think actually one of the first things, by the way, you will remember we ever talked about was Wyeth's painting of Helga asleep.
Sure. Yep.
And so we talked about dreams right at the beginning of our online.
Because she's underneath the cloth, right? I think in that picture.
Yeah, behind the kind of the veil.
Yeah, the veil. I mean,
But this idea that we are carried into other people's experience, unbeknownst to us.
Yeah. Like somebody said to me today, they said, like you can't control other people, but you do influence other people. So like whether you like it or not, and in ways you may not have portended or intended, you are influencing other people. We're all just a bunch of billiard balls bouncing around the world.
Do you think you can dream ever about something that you haven't experienced? Is there anything ever in dreaming that is completely new?
Is there anything in creativity that's completely new? I mean, aren't dreams just an extension of our artistic brains, our ability to dream things that didn't exist, but are mashups of things that isn't that what we're making when we're making stuff?
Well, does that mean that synthesis is creativity?
Yes, but that takes creativity down a peg, because I see synthesis as sort of an amalgamation, a breccia, if you were going to say, like a geological thing of different things that were in our minds, and then like it's sort of our view of it and we spit it out.
Well, mustn't we stand on the shoulders of giants?
Sure. But it also means that the way all these computers are working now probably isn't that far from how your brain works when it's writing or drawing or doing anything else.
Well, I mean, all of this, I think, feeds into something that is, we're kind of coming to this point in our conversation where we're close to finishing, but actually we're just getting into the part that is the bit behind the obvious talk, which is the thing I'm really interested in, I suppose, where, does dreaming make us more human? Is a dream ever an authentic article? Is the dream, whatever dream it is that the individual has, is it part of a key into something that's collective ever?
I think that it's a unconscious creativity engine that is similar to what people who make stuff use in their conscious life. I think there's some people for whom dreaming is the only time they're actually coming up with something really interesting and new. That like they've had childhood imagination whipped out of them, but their dreams still bring it up.
Is that what it is, though? I know that, and I can say with certainty, I was a highly imaginative and creative child. Is that creativity the same thing as that which is generated in dreaming?
I think so, but I think it's just less conscious. You can't control it.
Do you control your imagination? I'm just looking at this.
You can seed your imagination. I think you can consciously seed it, but I don't think that you can control it. So your hair looks cool right now. When you were just looking down, that would be a cool painting.
Okay, Bill. I just want to say a couple of things that I've picked up about Redon, how he spoke about his own work. Whether they make sense now, just tagged onto the end of this, I don't know. But I do think they were certainly relevant when I was researching for speaking with you about the dreamer. So Redon said, I think I have offered in drawings and lithographs varied human expressions. I have even, by permissible fantasy, placed them in a world of unlikelihood, in imaginary beings that I have tried to make logical with the logic of the structure of visible beings. Now that's
See, it sounds,
up dreaming.
yeah, but it's almost like he's trying to put a reality as an overlay on top of dreams to give
My
it structure to
original-
make it visible.
My originality consists of putting the logic of the visible to the service of the invisible.
Yep.
I mean, he's known as the Prince of Mysterious Dreams.
I think he's putting a mesh of consciousness over unconsciousness to show you the shape of the unconscious.
But isn't that what we have to do with dreams? Because for most of us, as we don't direct our dreams, most of us, they are a retrospective
Yeah.
event.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like when you wake up that you want to remember a dream and then it slowly fades and you're annoyed that you lose it?
Yes, I feel that frequently, actually.
Yeah.
That I don't retain the grasp of the thing that's perhaps given me pleasure or,
Insight?
yeah, insight. And it's slippery or, I mean, it actually has a sensation. I'm sure somebody smart knows a word for this. There might be a word,
Yeah.
like the slippery nature of a dream.
There's probably a
Sliding
French or a
away.
German word for it. Yeah.
Anyway, I wonder what we shall dream about this evening, and I wonder if our dreams are connected.
Well, I've been having a bunch of terrible dreams every night, so I hope tonight breaks that chain.
Was it lucid dreaming you were thinking of?
Yes, there's the word I'm looking for. Thank you.
There's a really fantastic workshop on lucid dreaming.
They think it, yeah, some people think it's teachable.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw one advertised in the north of Scotland on, I think, Iona, the island.
See, that seems like I don't know, to me, the dream state is so separated from my conscious reality that it's like, saying when you're underwater, you'll be able to breathe just like you're breathing now. It's like, no, that doesn't make any sense. It's underwater. It just didn't add up. It's like I'm a different person when I'm dreaming. Like I
Oh,
don't even remember that waking life exists when I'm dreaming. So how could I control it?
but is your wakefulness the dream to the dream?
Well, yeah, which one is dreaming and which one's reality, right?
Well, that's a whole other show. Anyway, Bill, it's very pleasant talking to you.
As always, I'm gonna go dream about recordings. Speaking of seeing,
Could you dream us up a bigger audience whilst you're at it, please?
sure, I'll get right on that.